Welcome back, my fellow Zrilian friends, to the second day of my report. I see that the audience today is slightly smaller, but no matter, I will continue relaying to you the events that had transpired when our mission to establish a surveillance outpost on the home planet Earth of the mankind species had failed because of an asteroid impact on our ship. I was still wondering why the grow light would not turn on or off automatically, but then I realized the moment I had set up my filtration unit, another chip housing had come into play, and the computer was confused as to which housing to write to. The moment I chose the right housing, immediately it functioned correctly. And now the light would turn on every time the sun was up. And so the potatoes would be thriving towards fruiting, if not the station temperature would be too high. This was indeed a significant concern still, so I decided to tackle it. I knew I would have to go out on a mining run, but now that I had the large mining drill, this would not be so cumbersome, so I was looking forward actually to when it would happen. I was not yet sure how exactly to tackle the problem of cooling. And then the sun was out, and I decided, I don't care. I want my resources, and I want them now. And so, today, the first things I will relay to you were once again about the boring but necessary activity of mining. I'm sorry, but that is how it played out.
Jetpack low. Jetpack critical.
The jetpack was not usable, so I had not yet set up any devices that could refill it. I would have to be on foot. And
jetpack low.
Then I saw the glory of the heavy mining drill, how it was eating through the landscape, how fast it would even be near or particularly gold.
Jetpack low. Jetpack critical.
Which is notorious for hardening the ground so much that it is very slow to mine. But this was over now. I was happy. I was making my life here on this world, on the moon of Jupiter, Europa. And I would have to set up a radio station so that I could contact you, my friends, to send a rescue mission.
Jetpack low.
What I did not expect.
Jetpack critical.
What I had not
Jetpack low.
What I had not expected was that instead of sending a rescue mission, you would send me instructions
Jetpack low.
as to how
Jetpack critical.
to build a rocket to return myself to you. And so that's what I eventually did. I can already tell you that at first such attempts were disastrous. But ultimately I succeeded.
Jetpack low.
As you know,
Jetpack critical.
because I am now here to report on these events. Precious copper, I thought. Yes, there it was.
Jetpack low. Jetpack critical.
The announcements of my suit were getting on my nerves.
Jetpack low. Jetpack critical.
But this would only give me incentive to indeed deal with the problem of my jetpack. Once I would be back at my beautiful station. Yes, it was still very makeshift, and very disorderly. However, it was way better than nothing. And nothing I had when the asteroid had struck our ship and my 2 crewmates had found their death.
Hydration critical.
I was thinking actually to make 2 graves for them, but I was still too busy dealing with the improvement of my survival. For the station could explode at any moment if I would deal with it wrongly. This was not acceptable. As a Zrilian, I would have to be more orderly. And so I would be. But it would take time, and lots of work, lots and lots of work, all of which I will relate to you. So if you find this to be too tedious, you can skip ahead in my explanations, or miss a day here in our little arena altogether. Gathering resources was now rather easy. It was almost a blast. But over the course of the enjoyment, I almost forget to look where my station would be. I might lose it once the sun was down. But I had to remember only number 0. It was like on my first day. And I rejoiced once more. I should prepare for it a mine run next time by manufacturing the respective mining backpack and other such things. So while I was no longer panicking, I was still pretty much in a state of a hurry and confusion. Too many things would have to be done. It was not that the working on the project as we Israelis so love to do. But instead, I was running around with my hair not quite but almost on fire. This is an expression that we know the humans use, for they do have hair. Found too much copper, even though copper was currently my primary concern. Once again, I had to relieve myself of the dragon's breath. I found some more copper, but my inventory was full, so I chose to toss some of the iron away. It was only little. How fast I was now gathering resources. It was a blessing. Did the storm strike once more? No, it was just the air moving above me. The knife on cowl. Surprisingly. And I mined rather quickly. Thinking of the storm, I remembered that it must have taken a toll on my solar panel, which I still intended to employ, and so I made my way back home to prepare with plans to repair everything that had taken damage, like for example the walls of the airlock. I had not yet gotten to that. The power was low in my station, and so I decided to burn a little bit of coal, and definitely to melt some of the water, so it would go into my water tank. With all these events going on, I realized I was still pretty much under pressure. My waste canister would eventually almost explode right under my nose once more. The cooling was not yet solved. The plant, while thriving, was in danger of overheating once I would be using my furnace. So many things would still have to be done. And also, I had forgotten to turn off the light. I would have to automate it. Since I already had the sensor in play, I decided to do so right away. Now, whenever the sun would be up, the lights would be on. But I realized this would not be the ideal choice. Because if the sun was low, I would still need the light of my station. And so I opted for a higher position of the sun. Then I realized that Jupiter would foil these plans, and I opted for an entirely different approach. I suppose that the value to be obtained from the daylight sensor would be whether it is activated. And then what I would have to do is I would have to invert this value. And this then would turn the lights on. Whenever there was no sunlight on my sensor, the lights would be on. This might actually consume too much battery over time, but I would have to implement measures on that front anyway. I saw that all my resources would take up a lot of space, and so I thought maybe I should melt all of them down and stack them high. But before I would do any of these things, I would have to drink.
Oxygen critical.
And was once again reminded of my
Cognition low.
Zrilian nature.
Oxygen critical.
I was wondering why my cognition had been so low while I was drinking. This is not something that I had had before, and so I was wondering whether my lungs had taken damage and were thus less capable of taking in oxygen. Volatile. Yeah. I still don't know who put that oxygen canister on the lander. It would almost have cost me my life had I not been so proficient at dealing with such scenarios.
Air tank critical.
I would eventually have to get out of my suit, but it was not yet the time for conveniences. I first would have to survive. So, how would I install the door without evacuating the air of my station? Of course, the answer would be I would have to protect the wall from the outside, and so I did. Once more opportunity to release the dragon's breath. I actually had realized that if I would empty my dragon's breath canister, my waste canister, while the airlock was cycling towards the indoors, this would make sure that the tank would be even more empty, for it would only equalize to planetary pressure out here, but in the airlock, the target was 0. Shit, I thought, because I had done goofed. A small mistake had just cost me a lot of stationary atmosphere and even my crowbar, a very valuable tool that, of course, I would be able to remake, but I would prefer to find it in the wilderness instead of giving up on it. But alas, I could not find it. Even though it was red or orange. Accidents like these, I know, would occur sometimes, and so it must be my goal to be able to survive despite everything blowing up around me. I would have to make multiple rooms, possibly even at a distance. And it would also not be too unwise to create some kind of treasure chests out there in the wilderness with an autolathe, an arc furnace, and a set of tools and such, so that in case of emergency I would be able to prevail. Funny, I thought that it was just this one iron wall too many that I had printed, which would now come in handy. Now it was time to open up the inner wall, like I had done so prematurely just minutes ago, and to install the automatic door. I had no clue yet how exactly to measure the temperature and how to gauge when to open it, but I knew that I would find an answer to this. I was considering putting some boards into my station which would direct the airflow and thus be more controlling of the temperature flow also. Once again, I opted for the glass door, for this allowed me to see the most. But I could not place it, and I was not sure as to the reason. I wondered, could it be the wall that I had placed? Possibly. Or was it the pipe that would go through it? I was not sure. I had to consider both, and maybe that was even the reason that my helpful suit, artificial intelligence, could not give me a meaningful answer. The question was, what exactly is blocking it? And maybe it only had one slot to show me the answer. Since two answers were true, it showed nothing meaningful. I suspected that may be the reason. I'm glad that once at some time we came up with these very versatile manual hatches which can be used for any purpose. They could even be placed in a square to build mazes for the children of ours to play in. I tried the door once more, but the answer was once more not meaningful. I wondered, was it again a pipe that was in the way? No, not this time. It must be the wall that I had placed out there to protect my station atmosphere. I did not know what exactly to do about this, and so I chose to actually build a little box room out there, which would allow me to open up this wall for good. It seemed like a waste, but what choice did I have? I could not risk my station atmosphere. The lights had turned off just at the moment the sun had come out, and I was happy that my engineering prowess once more proved successful. Meanwhile, the plant was still striving towards fruiting. So I would have to build some iron walls and a foundation. While this would happen,
Power low.
I decided that I would also want my arc furnace to be busy, for I had actually set it up with such a goal in mind. And it was smelting, it was smelting my ores right away as I had intended it. Which seemed necessary, for I had just blown through my entire iron in the alternate. wondered just how full my water tank would be, and decided to no longer rely on the tablet each time I would have such question. Instead, I tried to use the liquid pipe meter, for which I would once more need copper, which I did not have in abundance. But I found a way to solve this. What would be the ideal placement, I wondered. I decided if I would ever implement the one-way liquid valve once more, I would just expand the network. And here I saw 330 liters was the capacity, 100 liters were in there, so it was time to toss the remaining water that I had in my inventory. Meanwhile, I decided to also work on the power situation, and I wanted to print 1 or 2 more upright wind turbines. I wondered what I had just done. And was not sure. Oh, I had done nothing. So, there was enough gold for the task at hand, but I would once more need copper. Was it already melted? Yes, it was. How many wind turbines would this yield, I wondered. How many did I want? I wanted 2, and so I put in the resources for exactly 2 of them. Then I gave some more food to the arc furnace before finally going out and doing what I had planned to do.
Waste tank caution.
I would really have to find a better solution for my waste tank troubles. I decided to risk waiting out the production of the second wind turbine. But then I would also have to make heavy cables. How many would it take? None. And then I finally left the station to do
Waste tank critical.
what I desperately needed to do. Just how damaged was the solar panel? Health 67%. To benefit the most, the first task I was trying to tackle, the placement of the wind turbine. realized that in the future, even during a storm or even when the air was streaming at high speed out of my station, I would be able to enter more easily, for this time I would be able to walk. I was glad to see that no cable was wasted while making the crossing, so I would be able to connect both the wind turbines in one go. While my station was filling up with heavy cables. I wondered if I should tackle this. I would need the heavy cables eventually, but had the time of plenty already begun, I decided against it. Hilariously, if I had done nothing, the production would have stopped just then. But with so many things at play, such a complex flow at work, it was not a surprise that sometimes I would be lucky, and sometimes I would not be. Then I resumed my task of building the outdoor box. But first, I chose to repair the airlock. I would need more glass for this, so I made some. Had I not tossed the ass ahead. Finally, my airlock was in a proper state once more. I wonder when the next storm would hit. Possibly just a few minutes. But no matter, my repair actions on the solar panel would not be wasted. Too late would be bad, and so too early was not a thing. This was the moment when I realized that the absence of my jetpack was beginning to irk me. A sudden burst of fire surprised me, but it had just been the arc furnace lighting up the exhaust gas that I had excreted with my waste canister. No reason to fear. This box, I thought, should prove airtight. I just wondered if I would now be able to place the door as I had originally planned. And yes, it worked. door was placed, but it was not yet cabled up, nor was it automated. I knew that for its automation I would certainly have to install a gas sensor. So I fitted one. What's more, though it was a miss, but I found it in the stack of my smelted materials. I was still not living the life aplenty. I would have to go do a lot more mining. And with that in mind, I thought maybe I should already make
critical.
the mining backpack. I chose to make two at once. One would be here as a storage device if need be. Yes, the placement of the tool manufactory was tight, but it was sufficient for the purposes, since I would rarely ever print multiple tools at once. Not to forget my new mining backpack. I already put it in my inventory, and while I was at it, I thought the second one, not yet in use, would maybe be placed well there also. Then it was time to cable up the door. I felt like changing the mood slightly, and so I changed the music choice to accompany me through my experience. For you know, the music defines where your mind goes, and my mind wanted to go to beautiful places after all this suffering. The door was now ready, however, I was at risk of opening it accidentally. I wanted to leave my emergency hatch in place, for flexibility in a situation like this was certainly not a wrong choice to make.
Hydration critical.
Could I separate the walls? Could I separate up my station into sections? I had not yet done such things, and so I would try to explore this now.
Airtight critical.
I would also have to take care of my station's atmosphere. It was at 26 degrees, and actually, a potato had grown. 2 even, despite the harsh climate that I had exposed the plant to. This was probably at the outer limits of such probabilities, but it had transpired. Still, I felt myself inclined to pump some more CO2 into the station, and now that the furnace was rather cold, this would probably even prove very harmless, and that is why I did this. Observing the numbers rise rapidly, but the temperature stayed constant, and this made me happy. I was even considering reducing the amount of O2 in the station to an absolute zero. Just in that moment, the sun was up without me seeing it, but I knew it from the grow light turning on. The pressure kept increasing, and I would have to keep an eye on that, for there was still lots of gas waiting in the furnace to be used. If I were to remove all the oxygen from the room, it would not have the potential to burn, except by the mixture of my dragon breath. Still, this would be much less dangerous, I thought, than allowing volatiles to mix with CO2 in the atmosphere and to set everything on fire. And so I was thinking about this seriously. Then again, yes, this seemed like the right choice. When would I tackle this? I don't know. It was once more placed as a puzzle piece drifting in the future of my mind.
Hunger caution.
I already had achieved 20% CO2 ratio, which would certainly be enough for the plants to not suffocate in the long future. Yet, the plan was of course to have a greenhouse with automatic harvesting, an automatic shredding, an automatic centrifuging, because this would allow me to produce my precious breathing volatiles automatically and en masse, instead of going for mining every time. So this was one of the long-term projects that I certainly had. No more gas was coming in, because the furnace had been completely empty. All of it was now the atmosphere, and I realized this was really an engineering task well done, well balanced, and I had also been lucky, for everything always comes as a mixture, does it not? Take, for example, our journey to the whole planet of mankind, when we were trying to stay in the radar shadow of Jupiter, so they would not detect us. After that, we would use our slow drive, but we could not get to that point because the asteroid struck and destroyed the ship. I decided to create another filtration unit, for that would be necessary to somehow empty my waste canister early without it always being wasted to the atmosphere. Again, copper was a myth. I would really have to go out and mine more, but I was almost prepared to do so. First though, I would have to drink, and I wondered what my lungs would say about this.
Critical.
I wondered if my earlier such experience, when I thought that my lungs had possibly taken damage, well, maybe just a misinterpretation, maybe what had happened instead was that
Oxygen critical.
the opening of my suit had unleashed some dangerous materials which were burned in the air, and that was what had caused me to suffer for a moment. Since the sun was out, I decided to abort my immediate actions and to go mining instead.
Waste tank caution. Waste tank critical.
It was important that I wouldn't open the waste tank early, The airlock would not stop its cycling for a while, trying to fuel all that burning air into the station. A bad occurrence if it will ever come to pass. I saw a car in the distance and went for it straight. I even felt inclined to clean up the landscape slightly, for now I had the prowess of the fast mining drill. And as a Zrilian, of course, I love the order. With satisfaction, I beheld the ore landing in my brand new mining backpack, allowing me to mine many more things in one run if I would perpetuate my staying in the outside. The immediate haste after the landing, the panic, the fear, and also the grief had fallen away from me. Yes, I was so sad, but I was now safe, and I could now pursue my survival as an interesting and entertaining project instead of running for my life every moment. There was even a matter of convenience. Or, to say, convenience was what I had found. Mining so many materials at this speed, yes, it was entertaining to me. I was curious as to the levitating rock that I spotted in the distance. I chose to investigate this at some point, since I am also a scientist, as most of us Zrilians indeed are. I had already found more than 2 stacks of copper in this shorter time. I knew the sun was still up and the station was nearby. Still, I tried to remember where it would be, because if the storm would strike just now, and once again I told myself, why have you not installed the weather station? Why have you not yet installed the beacon? So if the storm would strike, I wanted to find my way, regardless. The mining was going very fast, but I told myself, what if I would possibly even use explosives to mine? What would that be like? And so I chose to do this at some point. I would try to overpressurize pedestals and just place them in the landscape. If I would be out mining, and my volatile tank would overpressurize, then I could even just toss it down as long as I had some replacement on me. I was finding in abundance. was really easy to find, and I was so looking forward to setting all of it to stacks of Venus. I love the order. Still do, actually. The battery of my heavy mining drill, despite my ardent use of the device, was still at 70%. I was confused. Had I not left the station? Had I not taken the right orientation when I was looking at my compass? I could not find it. Where was it? Had I once more accidentally looked at the temperature instead of the orientation? It seems like this was the case. But I knew I had enough resources, I had eaten, I had gas.
Chill music on some FM DEFCON radio.
So I would just keep mining until the sun would be back out, and maybe I would even stumble across the station. In addition to the beacon, I thought, maybe I also wanted to build a tower with a light that would be seen from very, very far away, so I could always look up in the sky and find my way regardless. I knew that some light had limited visibility,
Filter low.
or they were too weak. But I had the right idea. For sunlight can be seen at infinite distance. Virtually, of course, virtually infinite distance. My mining backpack was filling, but I had 2 of them. I would have so many resources after this relatively short mining run. Thinking back of the days prior, when I was using the slow mining drill to dig for a long time, only to get very little bit of coal, I was almost laughing at this. Almost. Then I saw that my mining excursion had only given me a small stick of coal so far. So the next thing that I intended to do was to prepare the station for overheating with the automatic door. Because then I thought I could fire up the furnace and actually smelt all the things that had on me in a fast fashion, and afterwards stack them. Which in turn gave me the inspiration that maybe I should install a stacker right after the furnace so that this would happen all the time, every time. And once more, I loved my situation, at least the details of my situation that were lovable. For engineering and succeeding is one of the greatest experiences that you know. I decided to climb the mountain once more in hopes that I could possibly spot the station like this. And yes, I could. And so I went home. My mining backpacks were not yet full. But the goal was not maximum period. The goal was the flow of the experience, and also the success that I would find with the resources gathered. And then I found volatiles, precious volatiles. Rapidly, my mining backpack was filling. And then I wondered if one day the Zrilians would come up with a technology that would allow me to use my hard suit chip, which I had not yet printed, to automatically sort the things in my mining backpack by some kind of mechanism that could be interneted. So I could maximize the stack, the user size, but maximize the efficiency. Now I had to do this manually, which was a bit off-putting. My backpack was full. I had another one, but I chose to abandon my mining and return to the station. Which was right there. However, since the lights were on, I realized maybe I should take care more of sufficient electricity storage. It looks good though. The established wind turbines were delivering me almost 500 watts of power, while the consumption was only 300 watts, so I was constantly loading my station at this rate. But the wind turbines would not always be running at that capacity. I saw the glow light had turned on, and also saw the dim sunlight coming from beyond Jupiter. So, the sun had come up. But the station lights were still on because no sunlight was actually hitting the daylight sensor, the good apparatus I had installed.
Jetpack critical.
I'll just go ahead. Keep talking.
I realized I could make myself a suit stand, which would automatically recharge my batteries. I did not remember if it would also recharge my tools, but time would tell, and indeed time would have to do the telling, since it was a long ways off for me to construct such a device. I would first have to have living quarters. The first order of business for me was to refill my cylinders. Once again, the air was set alight. So I swapped the filtration. Taking a look at the potato plant, I saw that it had actually seeded, and so I chose to do this. Looking at my hydroponics chest, my gardening chest, I refilled my potato seed stash to its original size, harvested both potatoes and also replanted both of them, for I still had enough canned food.
Oxygen critical.
I felt myself taken aback,
Oxygen critical.
as I had instinctively, or rather the opposite of my instinct, tossed down the food can
Oxygen critical.
once I had finished eating. This is not within my character, yet I found myself doing it all the time. I was wondering why this was.
Oxygen critical.
20 years ago tonight, Jeff said, let the games begin. And we began it in DEF CON 2.
So next on my agenda was the idea of separating the station into sections. Of building just a little wall that would not be really closed, but would allow me to have a section where the furnace could rage, while the rest of the station would be cooled somewhat by means of the door opening if need be. And so I did. In preparation for this, I thought maybe it would be a good idea to print some more pipes, and also to move the pipes of my CO2 filtration system, so that whatever would be pumped out there would be directly moved directly to the section of the station where I wanted everything to be normal. Instead of the section where the furnace had rage, it would not be good if the furnace automatism door would open, cooling the station and then sucking away the CO2 that I was so arduously retrieving from the furnace using my filtration unit. And so I chose to pipe it to a different place. Since I did not yet know if my plan of dividing up the station would prove fruitful, I only placed a marker and not yet the actual pipes. I realized re-extending the station will also have to be on my agenda. But expanding just the space of the room that I had built, would that be the right choice? I would also have to have sections. And so I thought maybe I should build a corridor attached to this room, separated by a manual hatch. Or maybe by an electrified door that could fire if emergency would strike. Maybe I thought it was time to install the sensor that I had made. And I wondered why I had misplaced it. Then I found it. Well, putting it here, where my plants would grow, and then deciding, oh, it is 30 degrees and let's open the door, that would not be wise. Because there would be more hot glass streaming into the section slowly, even with the door open. So this measure would be too late. And also, when the sensor would tell that it was time to once again close the door, that would also be too late. Lots of cold air would stream into the station. I would have to place the sensor wisely, not directly at the furnace, but also not too far in the station. And so I just placed it right next to the ceiling light, which would also allow me to use a cable that was already in that place. The station temperature was 29 degrees. Now it was time to use the labeler for its first instance. I had to name the door to make sure I would only operate this door using the logic that I was about to implement. What would I call it? Would it be founded on the structure that I was about to make? Or would it be founded on the type of device that I was looking at? I was thinking.
Waste tank caution.
My waste tank was interrupting me once more.
Waste tank critical. Temperature low. Temperature critical. Temperature low.
With my waste tank still burning, I wondered if I should employ the mechanisms that I discovered in the airlock. This would possibly pump empty my waste tank entirely. And apparently it did. Yet I chose to investigate it with my tablet.
Waste tank critical. Power low.
So, would I call the sensor a sensor, or would I call it the device system that I was trying to set up? I was not sure. I chose to go by device type. Massy housing was the target of my programming operations. I was so sunken into the programming that I did not notice any time passing.
Together within myself, you. Shadow of the weather, we rest. In the shadow of the weather, we rest. So sing to me of calm and union in the Son of God. Rest your head upon my wings and soars.
I prepared to register for the decision of whether the door should be open. And then there would be two reasons for the door to be open: temperature, but also pressure. For protecting the station was of major importance.
All you are, see through you. With all you are.
I was interrupted by a message, but it was just a standard message that I could ignore easily.
Falling far, but I'm nearer to you. Shadow of the weather.
So I loaded the temperature from that sensor.
I bring together within myself you. And in the shadow of the weather, we rest.
First, I had to convert the Kelvin scale to Celsius, for that was the scale in which I was most familiar. And then I decided if the temperature would exceed 35 degrees, it was time to open the door. Or maybe 40? Tricky. Sometimes there would be emergency heat, but sometimes everything would be flat. I wasn't sure which number to use, so I went with 35 to be possibly on the safe side. Now I prepared and register R1, the decision that the door shall be open. But this was not all I had to do. I also needed the pressure, which was delivered to me in kilopascals. This time I would overwrite register R0. And I would say if the pressure was greater than 95 kilopascals, then this should yield an open door. Now, for the first time in my session here, I chose to use the OR command, which would combine two logic statements into one. I was not sure if this would prove functioning, so I reinvestigated it. First, I was loading from the gas sensor the temperature, converting to Celsius. Then I was deriving into register R1, where the register R0 was showing a value greater than 35 Celsius. Then I was loading into register R0 once more the pressure from the gas sensor. I was writing into R0 if the pressure would be greater than 95 kilopascals. And then, also I thought, I ORed together these two logic results. The door did not open. I wonder what the reason was. I tried to open it manually, and it closed, and so I accessed successfully the door with logic. Since I had two doors now, I did not fear the next actions that I would take, which were to indeed make steel and lots of it. Certainly on the side I thought that the backpack and other such panels would handle so cumbersomely. Before I continued, I realized I had made a plan that I hadn't yet turned into reality, and so I did. For this would only delay me shortly. Then I decided to stop. Because I realized I would once more be busy doing all these things, and then disaster might strike, and I did not want to get interrupted so many times by canister doing the things they did. And therefore, I was thinking about a storage tank. Not an easy thing to do. Particularly since the two components of the breathing gas, as you know, volatiles and then the N2O that we breathe out, would eventually, if enough pressure would be applied, turn into liquid, which, as we know, our versatile gas tanks and pipes, or rather the pipes, cannot quite take. I was wondering what the answer would be to this, and so I chose an intermediary solution. I just made myself a few canisters, so I would have time. Or could I make a smart canister even? Yes, I could. And again I stopped, for I had postponed the refilling of the propellant canister for far too long, and so now I prepared the possibility to do this. Certainly, I thought, the way I had set up my station was gruesome, but it was a survival station. It was not yet the place that I would have to build. Certainly, I realized more cables would be in order at some point, so why not now? No copper was available. What would I do about this? I found some forbidden copper, which I could not make use of. So I postponed this activity until I would have smelted all my things. I wondered if this contraption would work. Only an attempt would show. My head-up display was indicating that this was actually functional, and so I chose to run with it. The door, I thought, should be free so that I could exit the station if need be quickly. But any other placement was still not fine. I was not sure what to do. Next time I would have furnace gas, I would just be able to use that, CO2 and nitrogen, to refill my canister. The temperature would not play a role, I hoped. My plants were still thriving, but I realized that the placement of my grow light was, well, let's call it awkward. And so I chose to change its location. I knew this would not prove a problem, since I had not chosen to install it using the screws of the IC housing, but instead I had used the name of the device type, which would make it more robust against changes. flight was under local control, and so everything was fine again. The power was still fine, but I thought 2 more wind turbines would be a nice thing to have. Could I afford these? I mean, there was already a place dedicated for them. No, I didn't have the resources yet, and so it was really due time to sell my materials.
Anti-critical.
I wondered what would happen if once more my waste tank would reach its critical temperature and would be set alight. Would it just hold the pressure? I was curious. Before I continued, I decided to remove some things from my inventory. I thought that increased flexibility could prove vital sometimes, and so that's what I did. I noticed the glow light had turned on. I had moved it just in time, and both my potato plants were sliding towards fruiting. It was really only a simple endeavor to make such a plant thrive. All you had to do was ensure pressure between about 50 and 100 kilopascals. Make sure that there's no dangerous gas in the atmosphere. Give them enough CO2. Give them temperature, and something that most Zrilians that I have encountered struggle with. Make sure that they don't get too little and not too much light. Synchronizing the grow light with the sun would always be the right move, in my experience. Before I continued once more, I delayed. For I thought getting rid of all the... That was my backpack. Getting rid of all the ices that could melt would prove useful. This would cool down the station atmosphere, but the station atmosphere would now also heat up a lot, and so this would probably be a very efficient measure. Then I prepared some steel making, because I did not want to get confused with the stack sizes. It would be bad to mix these things, then I would have to use a centrifuge, which was cumbersome, would take some time, would have wasted my resources for the time being. I just did not want it to come to pass. I chose to make 2 full stacks. But the rest of the coal, damn it. And the rest of the coal I decided to keep in case I would need it for an emergency. Always good to be prepared, I told myself. And since that was so, I even placed some of that coal in the burner. So I would only have to flick it on. Only I should make sure not to forget to also turn it off again. And with that in mind, I reduced the stack size. was curious to see if my programming would indeed hold. I had not really tested it, and this would be the first test run. So first, I closed everything up.
Waste tank caution.
My waste tank was at high pressure, but it was not yet high, it wasn't yet burning. I decided to wait for a moment to see if it would quasi-explode with internal combustion. I wanted to see what that looked like in the tablet. It was only a few moments. While I was waiting, I did some maintenance on my air scrubber system, which was so far on the portable scrubber rather insufficient, but better than nothing. I would have to install a proper such system at some point. A central air system would even be best. The pressure of my waste canister had reached the critical level of slightly above 4 megapascals, and so I was expecting to see combustion very soon, and I wondered how that would play out with a smart waste canister.
Waste tank critical.
It did not yet combust. I was wondering, when would this happen, and what would happen? Could I make one more large battery? No, I did not have the resources. I would like one though. This would balance out my battery handling quite nicely. Interesting, I thought, but my waste canister was no longer fitting further. But
Waste tank caution. Waste tank critical.
interesting, I thought, the waste canister had been on the threshold of danger and then had fallen back below. How did this happen? Could this even happen? Maybe I had reached this pressure by combustion, and then the combustion stopped and had cooled down again.
Hydration critical.
But I could not tell. It was beyond my understanding.
Oxygen critical. Oxygen critical.
I already had to mentally prepare for that time when my food would not be of such high quality, so I would have to drink much more often. It would really be time then to create a living space for myself. I was wondering how my waste canister was always rebounding from this high threshold. What was happening there? I saw that most of the gas in there were volatiles, and I was wondering how this could be.
Waste tank caution.
Volatiles were just what I needed to be, as you know. So, what had happened? I chose to just ignore the issue because it appeared to resolve itself. Maybe the smart canister was indeed smart. And so I started with the smelting process. I fired up the furnace. Immediately, the temperature around me rose from 20 degrees Celsius to something much higher, and I expected to open the door to open any time. Fortunately, also the light turned on, and so I could see better. The temperature in the other parts of my station were now increasing, of course, because of the high threshold of 35 degrees.
Value and actually taking down all of the internet, because then you take down all of your targets as well.
The automatic door proved very useful. I could now stress-free go about my settings. I had never set up my station like this, and so I rejoiced in the prowess of my engineering skills. The temperature in the furthest reach of my station was slowly climbing, but not very high. It was not yet the time to release the steel, but I did so anyway. Then I realized it was not steel that I had baked. It was just iron. Not a problem. I could just add the coal afterwards. The temperature stayed at a steady 30 to 40 degrees, thanks to the automatic door that I had placed right at the furnace. A good construction, I realized, and I was so glad once more that I had taken the effort to create the IC-10, the housing, and all the things that come with it. 32 degrees stable. Nice. It was time to harvest the steel, and henceforth I would just leave the lever open, for all the rest that I intended to melt should come out in the form of stacked ingots. And therefore I expected a steel ingot to land at my feet any moment. I can now rejoice, for the temperature was holding stable. I had never constructed a station like this, but it turned out to be a very good choice. To add some more of the fuel. I made sure that the scrubber would be able to deal with my failings. It appears so. I realized that one of the reasons why the temperature was holding so nicely stable was that instead of waiting for the temperature to have risen to a too high degree, I was opening the door, or rather the automatism was, all the time, so it wouldn't even rise too high. It was very smooth. I was happy with my construction. And then the storm came back, just at the right time. I had 6 wind turbines. Actually, more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4. I was not sure. I could not see them in the storm. they would all output 800 watts. And so I was receiving 4 kilowatts. Must be 5 wind turbines then, I realized. I wondered what the constant opening of the door would do to my CO2 mixture. And indeed, the CO2 had fallen. Constantly, cold air from the planet was mixed into my atmosphere, and so the solution that I had found, while very smooth, also had its downsides. I would have to consider this, as I would be standing here with dead plants and possibly deep hunger. Which reminded me that I would also have to come up with a storage solution for food that I could possibly make. And I thought, since the planet is already this cold, all I would really have to do is put them out there. But there was a better way. Or a fridge of exactly this functionality was part of the recipe list of my devices. I just didn't remember which one it was. Probably not the electronic one, for this device worked entirely without electricity. But that is still where I found it. Without copper though, I could not get far, so I first continued with my actions. My waste tank was once again critical, and this time it actually was set alight, as I could tell by the increasing pressure. And I saw it was not showing that combustion was going on within. The pressure held steady. The temperature though, 1000 degrees, very, very hot. I just ignored it and wondered what would happen. The furnace was reaching its critical pressure, and so I would have to take care of that. But I was just too lazy to carry all those ingots over to my actual stacker, and so I just chose the ones I already had to enforce the stacking. Why was I breathing heavily? Was it because my suit could not really function while the waste tank was so full? And so I realized I would have to stop in, need a waste compressor that will be able to take some more gas. And once again was glad that my sim training was serving me so well. For even in these circumstances, whose character can best be described as a combination of emergency events that was unexpected to take place, I was holding calm and was not confused by the things that transpired. my station temperature has a thanks to the logic that I've programmed. I presumed that the pressure of my furnace would not increase further, for there was no means for it to do so. All the fuel had already been burned.
Waste tank caution.
But my waste tank was once more an emergency,
Waste tank critical.
and so I took care of this.
Temperature low. Temperature critical.
Suddenly, I saw a small insect. I was wondering how this could have happened on this cold world. I could not catch it, and I was wondering, had I hallucinated? I returned to the station. The furnace, even though still very highly pressurized, was no longer complaining. Thanks to my automatic door solution, I would now have station heating for a long time. And once this would have cooled down, it would also mean that I could pump, that the pressure would be lower, and also that I could pump the useful gases into my devices. And now I realized it was time to finally fill up my jetpack tank. Putting it in here would mean that its gases would also reach my station eventually once I would open this lever in case I needed some gas directly from the filtration, but this would not prove problematic since the gases would only be nitrogen and CO2. The CO2 indeed had fallen a lot, so while my cooling solution was rather cool, it was also problematic. I did not know how to exactly deal with this. I would have to think up a different solution. I was not yet sure what that would be. Probably not in this room, I thought. And then I started the filtration unit and observed how it pressurized my jetpack canister. I aimed for 4 kilopascals from 4 megapascals. And so it will overpressurize them by 500. And so now I aimed for 8.5, which would give me enough time, I hoped. I wondered why it was now pumping so slowly, but then I remembered that the furnace is a fickle beast. You never know what comes out of it, and at what pace, and at what temperature, and at what mixture. Maybe, I thought, the reason was that the pipe to which the furnace was emptying itself slowly had not yet found its pressure again. So I tried again to jumpstart the filtration. But this was not happening. I wondered, why was the filtration so slow? And then I realized the pressure... No, I actually didn't realize. I wonder, why did the pressure not rise faster? And I also wondered how CO2, how oxygen had made its way into the canister. But yes, it must have been in the pipe itself. Why was it not filling further? We had a pressure differential of 18 megapascals, which should lend itself to fast pressurization. I did not understand. Both said this must be good. I had no understanding of the issue. And now, all of a sudden, it was running fast. Like I said, sometimes things are unpredictable. But now I had my jetpack again. It was rather hot, with almost 600 degrees Celsius, but I believe it would be okay. And then I took the precious resources that I had made and placed them in the lockout. Eventually, I would have to harvest more oxides, and so I decided to do this as soon as the opportunity would arise, which was right then and there. I realized also that I was being wasteful with my battery, and blissfully, I did not care. This would have been fatal earlier, but now I could just live the way I wanted to, without burden, relaxed, and pursuing my goals. Then I even found gold. Stayed out here mining all these resources which I was not currently keen to get. But with this fast mining drill, it was a blast, and so I just kept going. I knew the station was within throwing distance. It was very, very close. I wondered if the electricity in my station would give out, then the automatic door would no longer be functioning. And so the station could easily overheat and destroy my plants, even destroy itself from overpressurization. Not a good thought. I would just have to make sure that my machinery would keep working. Electricity, I would have to have enough. And I would also have to make sure that the occasional indoor fire would not destroy important cables. One way I thought to make this happen, and I thought I had found the station rather quickly, would be to connect the lights in the station directly through the emergency door. So if that door would for some reason no longer be connected, then the lights will also not turn on, which would make me wonder. So this was a reasonable approach. I could snake the cables through the entire station.
And you're listening to Soma FM's DEF CON Radio.
I could snake the cables through the entire station. From the point of electricity entry, which was here, instead of directly going to the door, I could go through the logic circuits first and from there to the rest of the station. This would ensure that if a cable would have burned out, the light would go off, and so with the light off I would be wandering at some point, so there would be a whispering voice, and this voice would be working even if everything had failed. A good idea, I presumed.
Waste tank caution.
And so once again, I decided to act on this thought. As soon as my waste tank would have been emptied.
Hydration critical.
The automatic door had the upside of also making sure that whatever came out, gas would come out. So, now what am I saying? What's the issue of the CO2, which was lowering? And so I decided to unleash some of its heat into the station. This would be interesting, for I had 11 megapascals of 500 degrees material. I wondered what it would be doing to the plants, particularly since it would be unleashed only on the far side, where the sensor could have struck.
Hunger caution.
Indeed, it was creeping over to the sensor only in slow fashion. Had I, as they say, done goofed? I wondered. The temperature was increasing and increasing. I realized that the placement of the sensor was not optimal. It would have to be, basically, just in between the two parts of the station. Right there it would have to be. The plants were already complaining. It was well too hot. Of course, the door would open and make sure that this problem would be solved. But would this be in time? I was curious. The plants were already relaxing. And so I just decided to prepare the cabling. And for that I would have to prepare cables first. So I took the valuable copper that I had made, checked all the machines for the copper content, and then decided to split it up almost evenly among them. 236 gram I had. Divided by 4, that would be 50 each. And so that's the value for which I prepared. I did not even know if the jewelry factory would require copper, but I planned on living large, and so I decided to not care. I was not satisfied with the lighting situation in my station. It was not the way I had imagined it. It was too dark. I needed more lights. For that, I would need more electricity to make sure that my station batteries would not run dry. But also, I should actually have more station batteries. This would prove problematic, for I had to keep them in the station, of course, to make sure that the cold offered Jupiter's moon Europa would not discharge them. But there was no room. I was not sure how to tackle this. And so I just tried something new. The way I had placed the cable analyzer was still not sufficient, and so I expanded the network further, for the sole reason of being able to see what energy was coming in through my generators. Now, so I hoped I would be ready to place 2 more station batteries, which I then decided to make. But first, I would have to take a sip. I was thirsty. Once again, the air would be set on fire, I thought, but nothing bad happened. Both my plants were yielding 2 potatoes, and they were fighting towards seeding. I was aiming to make the fridge, actually 2 of them, for the fridge is a very small device. So I could put up 2 of them, and they would not need any electricity. I could just open them up to the ice-cold atmosphere of Europa, if I would find the iron to do so. Afterwards, I chose to make the station battery. Or rather, 2 large battery cells first. Where would I keep my food? Right next to my lockers, I thought would be appropriate. This small fridge did not have any moving parts. It was just an ingenious device that would open itself up to the atmosphere provided without letting it leak into the device. And so, Europa was ideal for these purposes. I was thinking about using the jetpack, and then I realized if I would do so, the station atmosphere would heat up, while my jetpack too was hot.
Hunger critical.
Damn, I thought. I had placed the fridge in an awkward location. Before I reconstructed it, I made 2 back cowls to open the fridges to the outdoors. I would need steer for further processes. So once again I decided to split it up. But this time I would be a bit more lavish.
Waste tank caution.
But
Waste
again,
tank critical.
I thought, and I thought correctly.
Suit critical. Temperature critical.
I was suddenly in a dire spot.
Temperature critical.
As I destroyed
Toxin critical.
my suit,
Cognition low.
but at least I still had my jetpack to... But no, it was over. The door
Cognition critical.
had destroyed all that I did. Just because I was hit by the door. Suddenly, in shock, I realized once again I had turned away, staring at the distance. As happens so often to me, I was trying to find what I was doing again. What was I doing? Yes, the gas sensor needs to be moved. And I was also thinking about recabling the data flow in my station to make sure that if a cable would burn, that information would come to me. Basically, the idea would be to take the longest route. All the things that had to, well, they were indicative. The door here would open again and again, which was important. And in case it would not actually do that because the cable had burned out, then I should use this as an indication that in the absence of patches of light, and no, I cannot place it next to this door. Frustrating. What could I do about this? Maybe it would indeed make sense to just pipe it straight to the ceiling, which would also stand out like a sword gun, thus telling me again and again what the logic was of my wiring here. And since the door was already almost covered by all devices and pipes.
Hunger critical.
This would tell me even further that this door is not for me, but for machinery. These lights now were running based upon the length of cable next to the door. And so if the door cable would die, then the lights would go out.
Waste tank caution.
Maybe
Waste tank
I
critical.
should also pipe the other cables accordingly.
Temperature low. Temperature critical. Temperature low.
Maybe a contrast of seeing them on and the others off would even prove helpful. Otherwise, I might just rely. I may just rely on my flashlight too much and not see what was transpiring. Now I will have to move the gas sensor. Unfortunately, the same logic that I just described would apply to it also.
Air tank low.
How much air did I have left for breathing?
Air tank critical.
6 megapascals, not too much. I would have to deal with this problem also. So now I wanted to move the gas sensor. Where would I put it? Right here. How would I put it there? I would use the glow light, which was close enough to the logic circuits, so that something burning out here would probably be known to me early enough. And now to move the gas sensor just at the right time. But that time would not come. The station was cool enough. In theory, the station would now be protected. To test this, it chose to employ the mechanism that had made me relocate the gas sensor in the first place. I will unleash the boiling fumes of my furnace into the room. When it came out, the temperature slowly rose, a bit too slow for my taste, but I knew that the furnace might actually be lying to me once more. How hot was it still? 300 degrees Celsius. This would have to show up at some point in the station, and yes, it certainly did. Not as much as I would have assumed, though. Maybe the pressure was too low? Not enough of a differential? Yes, there was no differential. Pressure had grown too low. Actually, why was the pressure differential so low? 0 pascals? How could this be? And then I found the answer. And immediately, the pressure and temperature rose incredibly. The circumstances were still not ideal. Would I have to move the gas sensor further? Then I thought maybe I should employ multiple gas sensors and use a maximum value that I would find. This would not be the best method because some parts of my station might have cooled down considerably. Maybe I should just use the average. One sensor on this side, one sensor on the other side. This might be the right solution. %, CO2. I chose to turn off the filtration, so I could continue this experiment later, maybe. Temperature was still rather high. Using the average would not really help, because the placement of the sensor was already representing the average. I would have to use the maximum. Yes, protection from too much heat would be the priority, because how would I possibly achieve too much heat? By something supplying the heat, which in most cases will be the furnace. So if it would cool down the room too much, the furnace will resupply. and therefore I chose to use 2 gas sensors and their maximum value. I was eager to see the potatoes seed because this time I aimed to not drink from my tomato soup, but instead I wanted to eat potatoes. One sensor would be right here at the plants, where it would make the most sense to be, to protect them from too much heat. And before I would choose to move the other, I changed the source code to use not the sum, but the average, both for the temperature and the pressure. And remember to export it to the IC.
Health low.
I was curious as to the values measured, and so I chose to write that value, the resultant celsius value, to the IC housing for debugging. And wondered, could I just write in the middle of the line? Yes, I could. This would probably jump into my eye in case I would ever wonder whether there was some other value to be written to the housing. 31 degrees it was. And then I realized I had made a stupid mistake. It was about the maximum, not the average. $34, $32. And over here, 306K, 305K. So I turned on filtration again in hopes that this would give me something to measure. 44 degrees, 40 degrees. And what I read here was 40. And so I was measuring both of them now. But the maximum was what counted. And so the plants would stay protected. Mostly. Over here, it was accordingly very cold. But like I said, it would balance out. I realized that having chosen a value of 35 degrees for the threshold was actually wise, because the balancing out could lead to just, well,
Waste tank caution.
to almost a nice temperature.
Suit critical.
My suit
Temperature critical.
was what's more critical.
Oxygen critical. low pressure.
What had been but a nightmare before
Temperature low.
now proved to be actually real. And so I struggled inside to fix my suit. These doors, they're really dangerous, I thought. Meanwhile, I was polluting the atmosphere of my station with my volatiles. The suit was so very damaged, I wondered why I was even fixing it. But that was always the first measure to be taken. Fix your suit.
Suit damage.
What was the atmosphere here like? I found some volatiles, and so before I would choose to print something, which I was almost about to do, I decided to wait for a moment. These
Oxygen
stores
critical.
are really dangerous, I thought.
Disruptive to the populations of Europe and the United States.
I wonder what oxygen was critical. Was it the lungs that had taken damage? With this in mind, I chose to complete the purifier.
Terribly disruptive to the populations of Europe and the United States.
And apparently my lungs were healed.
Oxygen low. Oxygen critical.
I was more oxygen low and critical. I was in a dire spot once more, just because I'd run into the door like in my dream.
Power critical. Waste tank critical. Air tank critical. Oxygen critical.
I wondered if I would survive after all this. My museum of failed artifacts was going failed and used up. Maybe I should make the recycler, I thought. But where would I place it? First, I would have to expand my station. And now that I've used up my pill, I should also strive for more hydroponics. I opted to refill my gas tank.
Air tank critical.
And then,
Power low.
to harvest potatoes.
Suit and tie and sport jacket.
In my dream, I had already placed fridges, but that was no longer true. So I made them for real now.
And troubled the generals a lot.
Like I jumped, interested in how precise my engineering dreams are. But it is like working in a factory, where in the night you have a nightmare, or actually doing these things the whole time. was time to eat, and so I had to find a place for my table and for the microwave. I said, and then I stopped saying this. Where would the microwave be best kept? Here in the oven section? No. Which reminded me, in my vision when I was dreaming of Jupiter's face,
Terribly disruptive.
I had thought of making station batteries. I wanted to make them now for real.
Highly advanced high technology extraterrestrial.
Next thing I knew, I was cursing her name and submitting my CFP.
Where was the microwave? Where had I thrown it? I did not remember. Quickly, I planted 2 potatoes, and I also dared to plant some fern, but only one. I wanted to be sure. So then I baked myself a potato. And then I was wondering where the potato had went.
Hydration critical.
I was also wondering why the percentage of readiness of food was presented with a decimal place. That didn't make sense to me.
Oxygen critical. Hunger caution.
Yes, I will certainly need a place for me to live in. A room entirely filled with volatiles where I could eat, and this now turned out to become a rather urgent issue. For
Oxygen critical.
gulping down the potato would not be as fast as having eaten the soup was. Which way to go first, I wondered. I decided to place the station battery, for I had already begun with this endeavor. Looked alright to me, so I continued. I wanted to make sure that my station batteries would always be turned on And so I went back to my computer once more.
Waste tank caution. Waste tank critical.
It was actually on. I realized
Temperature low.
that probably
Temperature critical.
the pipe outlet of my filtration unit out here had proved almost fatal that one time when I was really running into the door instead of just dreaming of it. It was almost as if the dream had been a warning, but I would not listen. The sucking of the airlock was too slow for my taste, and as I had thought of earlier, I could now possibly move anything a bit and install a large active vent. Meanwhile, the sun was booting up. First, I had to unassign the active vent, or else I would possibly run into issues, because these airlock devices, the airlock boards, are very fickle things, even though they should be space hardened, which, well, they are not fault-proof. I will have to talk to the operations team about this. Oh, this did not work at all. How to proceed? How to proceed? I had unfortunately placed my airlock in a way that would not make it simple to solve this problem. But I would find a solution, I was sure. Again, my body was suffering, and this time, it was the thirst. I was happy to be able to fly again. I assumed the airlock
Hunger caution.
would now once more be functional. And I was correct. And then I realized something I had only recently learned, which is that turning off the airlock console would still be functional. It would only save me 50 watts of electricity every moment. So this would make sense. The entire light was saved by that, for those also consume 50 watts. And now I would like to produce a large powered vent. Electronic in-bar was required. Did I have these? In fact, yes, I did. And so I made two. For two, I needed it, as it would not be a large power vent. I wondered if I would have to elongate the pipe, which would give it more volume. How much pressure would emerge in there? I was wondering. was inclined to do math. Let's see, I thought. A 10-liter pipe versus an 8,000-liter room. What ratio is that? Well, that's the ratio of indeed 800. So 800 times the pressure that was in the room would have to be in the pipe if we'd imagine the entire room to go in there in an instant, instead of being exhausted back into the station. What pressure did I have? I was assuming 100 kilopascals. So I realized elongating the pipe would make sense, because this one could only hold 600 times, not 800 times what I wanted. And so I assumed I could speed up the process, possibly relevantly. Now once again I had to reconfigure the console, but first I want to take a sip.
Oxygen critical.
And so then I began the changing of the airlock once and for all. I assumed it would be very fast after this. Except there was a little problem that I'd forgotten. I would have to move the pipe.
Power critical.
Oh, I couldn't get to the cables. Or I thought so. But I had learned of a remedy, and I employed it. Again, I did not do it right. The power connection was a different one. Interesting, I thought. The high pressure would always be put over there, where the planet's atmosphere would sometimes be used to cool down the room, thereby making the room less pressurized. I wonder if this would be a good idea to do, or if this would be the opposite of what I intended to. I realized it would rather be the opposite, and so I did not opt for this. But what could I do? There was no cable that I could place in that location. No! This would not be right. I was annoyed. What could I do to remedy this? I would have to change my entire cabling over here. Instead of going up, I would have to stay on the ground, which was feasible, and so it shows that. Now my airlock is actually discharging. reminding me that I had wanted to print more large batteries. For which I would need gold. Did I have some gold? I was surprised to realize I did not.
Hunger critical.
Then I saw it in my inventory. Stupidly, I had not yet melted it. The cabling was adventurous to say the least. Again, the excess of gold was my problem.
Waste tank caution. Waste tank critical. Temperature low. Temperature critical. Temperature low.
I used the opportunity to face the outside of the airlock.
Okay, your visor. Yep. Look at your back is up against the perch. Right now it's on top of the disc. Forward and up. Now you're clear. A little bit toward me.
Then I left my cables indoors. Unfortunate. Yes, I had, but close to the window. Wonder if I could reach it. No one saw that. That did not happen.
Toward me a little bit. Down. Okay, now you're clear. It's technically first in this department. Still wet here? Alright, move. Here, roll to the left. Okay, now you're clear.
I realized that the music had grown cumbersome, and so I switched the channel.
Okay, that's good.
I found it interesting how the flow of everyday constructions in the station can lead to situations that you have never experienced before. I had never had an airlock construction like this. Where was the gold, I wondered? Had I not told the device to sell some? The assumption was that this would have been tossed out, but apparently I was wrong. And so, once again, I would have to implement another engineering solution. By the time this would have happened, I would no longer need it, but I wanted it available. For this, though, I needed gold. Did I have some gold somewhere? Yes, exactly the minimum amount that I would like.
Oxygen critical. Hunger caution.
Idea. If that switch would not be on, if that switch would not be greater than 0, then I would not jump over the line that would reset the arc furnace's activate setting to 0. Hypothetically, I'd solved it. I wanted to test this. I wasn't sure if there was something still in the arc furnace. Possibly I had read the wrong value.
Hunger caution.
But what would it be if not setting? The only way to find out was... Oh. Yes, the gold had been smelted. There was just nothing in the furnace. And I had nothing left to try. Indeed, there was nothing that I could burn at this point, so I just chose to use some coal and wondered what would happen. Not good. Nothing happened. Had I just ruined my nice arc furnace? Why was it not doing anything? Again, I was running against this piece of pipe, and I was trying to close the door. A death trap. I would really have to keep that in mind. What? Did it just cause something in the station? Again, I changed the station. It was unbearable. Why was the arc furnace no longer doing what it was supposed to?
Lower light screens. Here comes the sun. Sinfera on Soma FM.
And again I traced a display that would show me how far the arc furnace was. Should I implement one? Again? I wasn't sure. I had other priorities. If only I could remember what those were. Almost 2,000 watts were being consumed by my station. Certainly, any extra room would have to implement some other power grid. had already been used up, and the sun had just begun to show itself, and so I decided for another mining run. It was necessary.
Anti-critical.
Was the airlock functional? No, it was not. So could I use it? No, I could not, because it wasn't functional. Don't ask stupid questions like that.
Hydration critical.
So what was still amiss? A pipe to the outside. There was no way for the airlock to empty itself. To the outside? No, that would be wrong. To the inside. To the station. I was curious, how fast would this airlock be now? And would I be fast enough to even benefit from the sun at this point? And so I tried it.
Hunger critical.
Yes, it was fast. But was it functional? Time would tell. Copper was on the menu. And then I realized my jetpack was gone. The downside of using such a mining backpack, certainly. Station was to be found in the direction of 21 degrees. And where was the copper? I had already lost it again. Lots of copper were to be found here, which made me happy, for copper was my main concern. If a stacker right after the arc furnace would also be meaningful. knew that the strong radio stations of our great Zrilian civilization would flood space, particularly where I was, near the Earth, with encoded messages that only I would be able to receive. You will be sending me new recipes for my production machines, and so I was looking forward to the new things that you had announced. For example, different spacesuits with different air conditioning devices. They would also bring with them their own engineering challenges, but that was beside the point. Of course, I would put up with those. I was curious. What was I getting myself into? I was waiting for those new recipes. They would come eventually, I knew. I realized I didn't yet have any cobalt. Cobalt was necessary for me to make the pill, and I definitely wanted to make one, and now that I had thought of the one that I had. The fern was already growing. Maybe it was already fully grown, I did not know. There was too much to do at the station, so I did not remember. It would have taken me at least 5 times as long with a small mind to get all of these resources.
Health low.
Again, I was reminded that I did not yet have any living quarters where I could sit, relax at a table or sleep in a bed, where I could breathe the few volatiles and would have a steady stream of air which would remove any pollution, any dangerous fumes that I would be breathing out, and where I could eat in peace. I did not yet have such an area, and I aimed to make one. It would need its own airlock, and I think it should also have an outside airlock. That would not have to be a turbo airlock like this one, just one that I could be using in case I needed it. Or I could even go so far as to just open the door, but volatiles and oxygen together, that would be dangerous. And so, yes, an airlock it would have to be. Again with an APC. I realized some more ingots will have to be made. Invar, Constantin, and all these things. And of course, eventually, I will have to consider making a vast furnace, which is a glorious device to have. But for that, I would first need to expand my station. So I'd have to build more rooms, and I wanted to make a corridor that connected these. Then I remembered that the best way to construct such a setup would be to build multiple buildings which are interconnected in various ways. So if one corridor would break from explosion or flooding with a poisonous gas, I could use another and move through other buildings to get to the place where I needed to be. This, to me, seems to be the right way to approach things. Hardest task indeed, but it would have great payoff, and it would also look good, or so I surmised. If Europa had any bedrock to speak of, would have needed its hot molten core if there was such a thing. There was no time to measure when we encountered the asteroid around Jupiter. Of course, we had the measurements of all the planetary bodies, for we had sent probes into the system aplenty, but I just did not have the necessary data on hand when emergency struck. I thought it was time to go home again. 20 degrees. I was confused to find a mountain in this place, but maybe I had moved underneath it. I climbed it to the top in hopes to find the station visually, but I could not. Again, I thought it would be a great idea to finally install the beacon and also a tower with lights. Both I would like to have. To be sure, I wanted to see the distance that I had made my place here. I did not yet establish a distortion field which would blur the perception visually and also of most radio frequencies
Health critical.
of this place, so that the humans would not be able to detect me. But I knew that currently no probes were moving towards the spot, and I knew that human probes moved very slowly. Now I, though, had to find back my way to the station. I had to find it quickly, which I found surprising. I was so sure that I was now in a safe place, but I was not. What had I done wrong? I was trying to find the place where I had just dug for all these materials, but that too I had lost out of my sight. So my health was dwindling from two reasons. I did not have eaten, I did not have drunken anything, and so I wondered what I should do. Where was the station? This, I swore, was the last time that I would get into such a dark spot.